You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hi, I'm Joe Heath.
I'm Toni Heath.
And this is the Watch-A-Thon of Rassilon.
That is a Joe fact.
Well, the Joe facts are coming up after the theme song.
Is it not a fact?
It is a fact.
Did you not just say it?
That's true. You got me there. Mm-hmm. Everything I say is a Joe fact, unless it's a Joe lie. Joe facts! Today we're going to be talking about the fourth serial of the 15th season of Doctor Who, The Sunmakers, which consists of 4 episodes that aired from November 26, 1977 to December 17th, 1977. Joe Facts! And I want to give a special shout out to Matt Golden for getting us these episodes.
Hey, thanks, Matt.
You can follow him on Tumblr at mgoldentumbles.tumblr.com. And today...
Special shout out to Matt for not killing me a couple days ago.
Do you want to tell that story real quick?
Yeah, we almost died on the icy roads of West Virginia, but we didn't. Matt was driving the car and managed to not kill us while we were sliding down sideways down an icy hill. So, thanks, Matt.
Did you turn to him and say, hey, thanks, Matt?
I did.
Chris Cherry had a tweet that kind of went popular, and he had a bunch of people following him for this tweet, and I believe Matt Golden also followed Chris Cherry for this tweet.
Yeah, he said, I asked him about it. He was like, yeah, I saw it, and I was like, oh, I halfway know that guy. I guess I should follow him.
And then so Chris Cherry tweeted at him, hey, thanks, Matt. It's a weird meme you've started. I suppose we should introduce the guy who's been talking.
Yeah, let's do that.
Hey, it's Nathan Laws.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Hey, thanks. I enjoy being back.
How have you been since last you were on?
Well, I'm excited because I've almost caught up on the Watch-A-Thon. I just finished listening to Face of Evil, so I'm only like 5 serials behind.
Oh, nice.
It's actually really impressive and a little scary.
You probably know more about us than we do.
Yeah, because I've forgotten all that.
Well, I don't know, though. It's taken a long time, it feels like, to get through all of them, But yeah, I'm almost caught up, so now I can start listening to other things again, which has me kind of excited.
Get away from these two idiots.
Well, I'll still be listening to them as they come out, but at least I'll be caught up then.
Question, did you listen to your episode, or did you skip it?
Oh, well, I've had a few, so I've listened to all of them except the Talons of Wang Chiang.
Was there anything you were like, hey, wait a second, they cut out something great I said?
Yeah. But I realize you gotta do that for time, so I'm not upset about it. I was wondering if I could just say a few things about some serials that you've done recently, and I just wanted to put in a couple words about a few things.
Go for it.
Okay, so Brain of Morbius, when you guys were talking about what was going on when the Doctor and Morbius were fighting in that thing, and Chris gave the theory that those were like future Doctors or alternate Doctors. I don't think that works because it's supposed to be in the Doctor's mind. So the theories that I've either heard or come up with are either that Morbius was crazy, and those were Morbius's faces we were seeing, so even though he was saying, I'm winning, Doctor, he just was, cray-cray. Another one is the Doctor was creating fake faces to give himself more time, and was just faking him out. And the other one, it doesn't make a lot of sense until you get to the 7th Doctor's era, but it's the idea that those are previous lives before Hartnell, but they're not the Doctor. And I can't really explain that until you guys get to the 7th Doctor, but there's the books sort of take that tactic with that, so there's more lore to come with that.
Is that like akin to like the War Doctor or something?
Well, it's basically in Gallifrey's past, there are the 3 big figures. There's Omega, Rassilon, and there's this mysterious figure that nobody remembers his name, and they just refer to as the Other. There's a lot written about how the Other is basically reincarnated as the Doctor.
I have heard this theory before. Chris Cherry has told me about this somewhat.
Okay, so those could be faces of the Other, is the theory that's been put forward, so.
That makes sense to me.
I think it's just crew members that accidentally got on camera.
Well, if you want to get all meta about it. Another thing I wanted to mention, you guys were talking about when does the TARDIS translation thing come up in Mask of Mandragora. You were like, when does that actually get said that it's the TARDIS that's doing it? That started in the books, and that's one of the few things from the novels that is actually carried forward into all media. But it's a good thing that they established that, because there was a serial that never got made but was written in the first Doctor's era, where they had this whole big thing where they had to go to this other part of the TARDIS, and it basically taught them foreign languages through hypnosis. And yeah, we don't... Telepathy works a lot better than that. And there was the whole thing about why don't people regenerate in The Deadly Assassin. So there's two theories on that. One is that Time Lords just, since they're Time Lord guards, they make weapons that will kill bad Time Lords, so it doesn't allow them to regenerate. But the other thought is that since this is a British show, they sort of have the whole class system idea baked into it. So the thinking is that not all Gallifreyans are Time Lords. And so Time Lord is something that is sort of, it's a class system, basically. And so people like Runcible would just be like an ordinary Gallifreyan. He's not a Time Lord.
Okay. That kind of jives with the way the Time Lords seem to operate.
You mean it's kind of shitty?
Yeah.
And the idea of the Eye of Harmony being in the TARDIS, most people think that that's just like a tap-off point, since the Eye of Harmony is supposed to be what powers the Time Lord's ability to time travel. And so, the Eye of Harmony itself is in Gallifrey, but each TARDIS has, its own, tap-off point. And so that's what you see in the TV movie. And the gooey master, so you guys said at the end the master looked a little gooier at The Deadly Assassin. The thinking on that was supposed to be that he did get enough energy off the eye to regenerate. The problem is that the next people who take up the master didn't realize that was the intention, and they don't do anything with that. He's crispy again when you see him. But, and the last thing I want to talk about was in Face of Evil with Zoannon. When did the Doctor do that? So Terrance Dicks established in his novelization of The Face of Evil that it was actually during Robot. When everybody was asleep, the Doctor just snuck off in the TARDIS. And so he was still unstable from post-regeneration. And that's why when his mind was connected to Zoannon, it was all messed up. So it's not canon, but it makes as much sense as anything else. It also explains why he doesn't recognize things, because it was a really long time ago for the Doctor then.
And also when he was sort of fuzzy.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I like the idea that sometimes the Doctor just sneaks off in the middle of other adventures to have completely separate adventures. And
I have a question for you guys that has bugged me since I first started listening to the show. Well, not since the song started. So the song has, Joe and Toni, you're ordered to watch every Doctor Who serial and watch them all. Then it says something and repeats it over and over, and I cannot tell what is being said. What is that?
Confabulate? Confabulate?
Is that what it's saying?
Confabulate? What does that even mean?
This really is a question for Vince.
Confabulate means engage in conversation. Talk.
Oh, okay. That explains it then.
So, those were Nathan Facts.
Nathan Facts.
We'll have to get Chris Cherry to record you a little cue.
I like having a segment where we get answers to questions I don't remember asking, but I'm certain that I did. It's a good segment.
Yeah. It happens frequently on our YouTube and Twitter. There'll be people going through the old episodes, and they'll be like, well, you were asking about this, and this is what it was. And I was like, I don't remember asking that at all.
See, once I'm caught up, I can just do it as you guys put out the episode, and so then it won't be what did I say? I don't remember that, kind of thing. So
that being said, I don't know if I remember the Sunmaker. Let's find out.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, let's see how this goes.
Let's dive into the Sunmakers.
So the Sunmakers, we accidentally saw the ending of it at Hulanta.
Before our panel where we watched Tank Girl.
Yes.
I tried not to pay attention to it.
Okay, I did, and it was a maddening thing to see without any context.
I remember there was the guy in the wheelchair, and that was it.
I was just that's some absolute nonsense I'm super looking forward to.
And we've gotten here.
I don't know what's happening in there at all. Now I mostly kind of know.
So let's start episode 1, which I have called Death and Taxes and Death Taxes.
Okay. I did tax evasion.
Nice.
It's good.
I wonder if there's going to be a theme to these titles.
I tried not. At first, I was thinking like everything's going to be a tax title, and I was like, no, I'll vary it up.
I tried to, but it was hard. So yeah, this serial, it's very clear that Robert Holmes does not like paying taxes.
Well, apparently it was written as just like the normal, like, you know, anti, like, imperialist kind of thing. And then he like had to do his taxes and he was like, oh no, it's on now. And so he wrote like this scathing, like, thing about like the whole like tax system. And even like the weird, like, they're talking about like Corridor P45 and stuff like that. That's a British tax form. So everything in here like relates back to like the British tax system.
And
that makes sense to me because I was like watching it. It's weird how it's a company, like it's a private company, you know, the whole planet, like the entity that runs the planet. But then it's like taxing people, and it's like oh, taxes, it's the worst. And I'm like, are you complaining about the state or are you complaining about corporations? Which is it?
Well, it's both, I think, because Louise Jameson in an interview said that he was also unhappy with the BBC at the time, so I think some of that got in there too.
Ah, that makes sense.
he was just shooting at all the targets.
But it's fun because, you know, he's talking about everything.
So we start with a hallway, classic Doctor Who staple, the hallway, where we meet Cordo, who is one of the people.
It was Cordo with a C.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was Gordo for a
I
little
did
while.
too.
But no, it's Cordo. And he is looking at this weird tic-tac-toe design on the wall. There's like it's a hole in is it a zero? There's like a circle next to it. Very high up, and this woman's head pops out of it, like she's in The Wizard of Oz.
What gets me about this shot is it's framed so oddly. I hate it. I mean, you're supposed to, I think, but she's like all the way in like the left corner.
Really high up.
Up in the left corner, and you're like, what are you doing all the way over there?
And Cordo's way down on the... Well, he's not on the floor, like, laying down. He's standing up. So he's, like, way lower than her. But she says, hey, your father died. And he's like, whew, finally. Like, he legitimately seems relieved that his father has passed away.
I thought that they were implying that they, like, euthanized the dad because he was too old to work. And she was saying it was painless, and that's what he feels, like, relieved about is, oh, thank goodness he died without any pain, kind of thing.
Yeah. And he got the golden death treatment. And then she's like, well, now you have to go to this gatherer to pay the death taxes. So he heads off to do that, and then we meet Gatherer Haid, who is the first of two cartoonish villains, and I love him.
So good. So good.
He's so pompous and arrogant and gets everything wrong.
And he's got such a great voice. It's wonderful.
He's an idiot, and he's also, like, the actor's clearly having the most fun that, like, anyone's ever had.
It's great because he's so self-important with everyone else, but when he's with the Collector, he's so, like, subservient. And, you know, like, just bowing and scraping, and it's really great performance.
Joe, how would you describe his whole get-up?
A lot.
Yeah, that's a pretty good description.
They apparently wanted to go for an Aztec aesthetic to the story, but it was going to cost too much. So other than Haid's outfit and the weird sun motif that's everywhere, that's all that's basically got like a sort of an Aztec vibe. But apparently those clothes were like an Aztec robes, and like that hat was apparently from like something Aztec as well.
In his office, he also has that, like, big idol-looking thing. I guess it's a sun.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the sun. It's got like the pointy circle kind of motif, like a sun, but inside it looks almost like sort of like gears and stuff.
Man, his head is magnificent.
To me, the big thing kind of looked like Olmec from Legends of the Hidden Temple. Also, he has just, like, this weird ribcage hallway. That's pretty cool. Like, it's like a giant dinosaur ribcage-looking thing that leads up to his desk, which is made of mahogany.
Yeah.
That is how he says it.
Yeah.
Mahogany. But he very cheerfully explains to Cordo it costs more than Cordo thought it would, the death taxes. And Cordo's like, well, I can't afford that. And he's like, well, then just work some more. And he's like, I'm already working like doubles every day. I have like 3 hours of sleep. He's like, well, you just have to do without sleep for a while. And he like starts to complain more, and he's like, you better be glad for what you have. And then Cordo just says, praise the company.
Yeah, because apparently there's some pills they can take that let them get along without sleep, but those pills also have tax on them, and so basically he would be in debt for the rest of his life.
And he gave all the money he had to pay off this.
To make sure his dad died nice, peacefully.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, he already did, so he could just, like, bolt.
Bolt where?
That's true.
It's the kind of deal where the whole planet is the company, which makes this a very interesting parallel to Kerblam.
This is like the anti-Kerblam. Kerblam had
a little bit
weirdly pro, like, Amazon stance.
Well, it was really pro, like, the system.
And this is very anti the system. So it was interesting watching this serial and that episode so close to each other. And also it felt good watching this one, considering I did not care for Kerblam. But we cut to the TARDIS, where Leela and K9 are playing chess against the Doctor.
The Doctor is losing badly, and surprise, he is a terrible loser.
Well, if he thinks he's playing great, and then K9's like, move this piece here, and Leela does, and then he's like, check, and the Doctor's like, bullshit, what? And I'm pretty sure he tries to cheat. Like, he makes a move, and K9's
he's on the
like,
wrong square.
Yeah, and K9's like,
on the wrong color.
I don't think so. And he's like, oh, I don't know how that happened. The Doctor plays board games like Ray does.
That's true.
But they land.
Oh, that's right. The planet is Pluto. I forgot.
It's Pluto. Oh, it's not a planet anymore.
Right, yeah, which they refer to as the 9th planet, and say until some 10th planet named Cassius is discovered, it would be thought to be the furthest planet from the sun. But, yeah, that's kind of hard to reconcile with, astronomy now. To
be fair, it is a dwarf planet, right?
Yeah.
So,
but even then, it's not the furthest dwarf planet because of Eris.
Right.
Well, we just haven't found Cassius yet. Or there was some timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly thing that changed the name.
It's actually Pluto, too. And it is a planet. And we're like, we found the farthest planet out. And we're like, we're naming it Pluto. Fuck you guys.
What was
Pluto's the farthest planet in the solar system.
What about, was it Mondas? Isn't that out there somewhere, too?
Somewhere.
Well, not anymore. It blew up.
But yeah, K9 gives all these facts about Pluto. And he seems very excited to go out onto Pluto, but he doesn't get to go out onto Pluto.
Oh, I know. And it's so great how he's like, please, can I go out? Can I go out? And the Doctor's like, no, stay. He's so like a dog.
And Pluto is also a dog, if you think about it.
Okay.
He connects with his planet. So.
Thank you for that little bit of information.
So they go out and they're on the roof of a building that is really high above a painting. That is
one of the saddest paintings we've had in a while.
Yeah, the perspective seems a bit off. It seems very, very flat.
Well, I thought the problem was that all their location work looked very obviously like an office building. Where it was like, okay, you're not in like some future society. You are at a regular office building somewhere filming.
I do remember watching the documentary and they were saying they had a little bit of difficulty trying to find a rooftop that you couldn't see city around it because they wanted to make sure that you couldn't see anything. I don't remember where they wound up going.
Well, they said that what they decided was since they couldn't find a rooftop like that they would find a rooftop that was just really big. And so in the hopes that if they, just shot in such a way that they were looking away from things and whatnot, that it wouldn't be too obvious.
I think that's fair enough. It doesn't look like... I can't tell where they're at, so that's I mean, I figured they're on Earth. Where else would they film?
There were a couple of shots, only because I was looking for it, where I could see skyscrapers in the distance, but you can just say, like, oh, well, there are other buildings that tall on Pluto, so it's not really that bad.
The Doctor pulls out, like, a telescope to look around, completely fails to notice Cordo walking by in the background, who is about to just jump off the building.
Cannot
afford to live here anymore.
Be alive. That's a mood.
So the Doctor and Leela go over to say, hey, what's up? And he's like, I can't pay the taxes. And the Doctor says, oh, all you need is an accountant. A wily accountant.
Wily accountant.
So he offers him this accountant advice and a jelly baby. Which is funny because he holds out the jelly babies. And Cordo very cautiously reaches out for them. He's like, yeah, I'll take one of those.
Yeah, I love that it's not like the traditional thing of in a show when you see a jumper and people are like, whoa, 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 don't, there's so much to live for. And the Doctor's just like, hey, how's it going? Have a jelly baby. He's not directly addressing the whole you're about to jump kind of thing at all.
And it seems to work. He, distracts him enough that Leela tackles him. Then he has to explain, taxes and stuff. And the doctor has to explain taxes
To Leela.
to Leela. And she's like, so they're like sacrifices. And the doctor's like, yes, but taxes are more painful.
I love that.
I think what I love about that is the implication that the doctor's ever paid taxes in his life.
I don't think the doctor's paid anything ever. I'm pretty sure he steals.
He paid
90%
taxes
of his
once,
stuff.
and he's still fucking bitter about it, is the thing. He paid taxes once, hated it, stole a TARDIS, left his planet, and he's still fucking mad about it.
Oh my god, do you think that's why the doctor left? Was just tax evasion?
It was absolutely some form of paperwork that he just put off for too long. And it was that kind of thing where it's like, oh, I've not dealt with this problem for so long that it's actually a big deal now. Fuck it, I'm just gonna leave. That's absolutely what it is.
Seems legit.
Well, once Leela finds out about how awful taxes are and how shitty this planet is, she is ready to eat the rich, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
She's ready to go full on. Let's take them out. But Haid and his assistant, Marn, who wears a really cool yellow outfit. I did not know her name for a long time. I was just like, oh, that's the woman in yellow.
A fun fact about Marn is that the director for the story, Pennant Roberts, always went into every script and decided to change a male part to a female part. And Marn was originally just a bumbling male sidekick, but he cast a woman instead.
Nice. Good on you.
But yeah, he actually directs through the Fifth Doctor's era, so he'll be around for a while.
Constantly making more ladies? That's good. But they've come to examine the TARDIS because they're like, hey, what's this thing on our roof? The Doctor and Leela and Cordo run off and hide. But Haid thinks whoever came in this TARDIS is smuggling goods in. And as it talks about this whole conspiracy thing.
What I love about him is how just self-assured he is in nothing. Where he's Marn will be saw the boxes, what is that? And he's like, what, don't you know? Is a thing, clearly. Some sort of big blue box thing.
Yeah, and they're smuggling arms in it, because he just decides that's what's going on.
I know people like that.
So do I.
There's another great bit. This is a little later, but they see K9 later on in this episode, and it's on the screen, and Marn is like, what is that? He's like, I don't have to tell you. And then he doesn't. He just doesn't say anything. So that's the kind of character Haid is.
He's really delightful to watch.
So the Doctor and Leela and Cordo have ran off, and the Doctor's asking Leela, why did you run away? And then she's like, why did you run away? And they're both like, I don't know.
Maybe everyone runs from the tax man. And then she looks at Cordo and he nods his head and she's like, see?
That's it. Everyone runs from the tax man.
Including the Doctor. Back on Gallifrey. Canon. It's canon now.
That's what else could it be?
Cordo decides that he's going to go to the Undercity and team up with the Others, which consists of outlaws and tax criminals, if they exist. I don't know why this wasn't his first plan. Why didn't he have this plan before I'm just going to jump off a building plan?
No, I get it.
Well, yeah, because he's terrified. I mean, he's apparently because it's all lit and there are 6 suns around the planet, or fake suns around the planet, so they have constant light. The idea of going into darkness is so terrifying to him that he would have rather died. But now that way's closed off to him, he's like, well, might as well try this.
It's true. They almost don't even have a concept of dark. It's they don't see dark at all.
But there's this great thing that when he says there are 6 suns, that where Leela takes out her hand and starts going 1, 2, and she's just doing in the background of the scene, so if you're not paying attention to it, you might miss it, but she's just counting to 6 on her fingers really slowly, and I just love it. It's so adorable.
And that's where the title for this serial comes from, is they made 6 suns. It really doesn't have that much to do with the serial, though.
Yeah, it's not especially super relevant.
It sounds good.
They should have just called it Evasion.
Yeah, but that doesn't sound like the Sun Makers. It sounds really big and important, and Evasion just kind of But they should have called it as something like the Taxes of Fear, or the Taxes of Death.
the death taxes, which is literally what the first episode's about.
Yeah, but, it has to be of death, because it's a Doctor Who story.
The death taxes of death. They do, in fact, bump into the others after talking about them. Very convenient. Moving the plot right along.
Yeah, and they're really easy to find, and it makes you wonder why the company doesn't just send people down there to take care of them.
They don't want to have to deal with that shit. Out of sight, out of mind. But we meet the others, whose their leader is Mandrell, and they are not very nice, to be honest.
No, they're all kind of dicks.
Yeah, and they're like, if you want to be one of us, you have to be ready to kill and steal and do nasty things.
I mean, they are all criminals. I don't know what you wanted from them.
I mean, they're basically saying you have to be like, you have to give us something if we're going to give you something. So if you want to be part of the group and be, get the protection of the group, then you've got to, produce something.
And they seem very interested in Leela once she's, ready to fillet someone, as she says. I guess that's the British pronunciation of fillet, right?
Yeah.
That was the assumption I made.
Learning something new every day. See, I don't know, though. It's is that it, or is she just pronouncing it wrong?
No, I think that's how the British pronounce it.
There should be, a British show that, says words wrong all the time in it on purpose, just for, American fans to watch it and be like, oh, I guess that's how it's pronounced in Britain.
Well, you don't know how difficult it is, because it's anytime I want to refer to the villain of the Three Doctors, I want to say Omega. But then it's but it's pronounced Omega in the show. So should I say it Omega or should I say it Omega? I don't know.
Here's what I find. Whenever I don't know, I just 50-50 split. It's random.
Yeah.
I'll say one time. I'll say it the other way next time. Caramel? Yes. Aluminium? I'll use them all.
I don't like it any time that it adds extra syllables, so I don't like the aluminium.
That's fair. I want to lazily say my words as lazily as possible. They give the Doctor a task, which they have stolen a credit card from an Ajax.
A Visa credit card.
I love their credit card because it's the fattiest credit card I've ever seen. That credit card is thick.
The joke is that in the making of extra on the DVD, they talk about how they made it to look just like a Visa card, thicker, but the front looked just like a Visa card. And the producer freaked out when he saw it and was like, "You can't do that. It looks just like a Visa card." So they had to add some strips of color on it to make it look less like a Visa card. But I just thought that was funny.
And basically, he's just going to take this card, go get some money out of an ATM, and come back. And then, that sounds super daring.
I mean, it ends up being very dangerous.
That's true. And they're like, if you don't come back with this money within a certain amount of time, with our really cool candle timer, we will kill Leela if you don't bring it back in time.
I want to know how they make candles. Because you need some kind of wax for that, right? So, what are they using?
Uh-oh. You can also make it from, fat.
And that doesn't make it better.
No, it's worse. It's much worse.
Because, this is this high-tech society provided by the company, and nobody gets anything ancient that isn't super rich. So that means that those candles, they had to make themselves. So it makes you think.
Oh, I feel nauseous now.
It's earwax.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
Just years worth.
Well, there's a lot of them, too, so you can just scoop it on out. This is why you don't think about Doctor Who too hard sometimes. It just gross you out. So, the Doctor leaves to go do this, bumps into K9, who has made his way out of the TARDIS because he got bored.
Like any good Doctor companion should.
Well, I love it because, you'll see, K9 becomes less like this later on, but they made him so much like a dog in this one, where it's I want to go out, and I'll be good, master, and the Doctor's like, no, stay, It's just this whole idea of K9 just wants to go on a walk. And in fact, even the Doctor, when he's in the TARDIS, just spells W-A-L-K, and which is so funny because that's what we do with our dog, because he knows when we say walk what that means, and he'll just start jumping up and down, going crazy. So we'll say W-A-L-K. In the house, so I just thought that was really funny.
It's also funny that Leela does not understand what that means right away, and then she tries to say it, and she says it all weird, and K9 goes, "Walk." I'm an advanced robot. Can't just spell.
I can spell.
So the Doctor is caught on the camera. Haid and Marn see it, and Haid just says, "Oh, he must be an Ajax smuggling arms. Just like further going into his...
I know things.
that he doesn't know. And he's like, I'm going to go warn the Collector about this. And then he heads out to do that.
Later we learned that the Ajax are the miners. And I just kept looking at the Doctor going, what about the Doctor makes him look like a miner? You wouldn't think like a miner would go into a mine with big bulky clothes like that. So I don't really get why everyone thought that he looked like an Ajax.
Well, that's the thing. They say, the way that they talk about it is like, oh, it's because he has fancy clothes, that's why he's an Ajax. I wonder if it's not like they're like the management level.
Why would an Ajax why would a miner have $10,000? But the Doctor and Cordo get to the ATM machine. Oh, I did the thing I hate. I said ATM machine.
Everyone does. It's okay.
They get to the ATM. The Doctor goes in, puts his thick credit card onto the wall unit, and the door seals and starts spraying gas at him. He put in the wrong pin, and then he smashes his face up against
Everybody
the glass.
knows that's what happens if you put your PIN number in backwards.
What if it's like palindromic? Is that a word? I may have just meant.
It certainly is now.
If it's a palindrome, if it goes backwards and forwards.
That's why that thing that always goes around on Facebook is bullshit.
Okay.
That's what I was referencing.
But that is the cliffhanger. That is the end of episode 1. Stuck in an ATM. We're now into episode 2, which I have 2 titles for, but I'm going to get rid of one of them because it's... Well, I don't know. I don't like either of them.
Yeah, they're both bad.
Technically, one of them is yours.
I did.
I'll say mine. You say yours, and then Nathan.
I don't want to say mine because it's the worst one on here, and yours sucks.
No, say it. Now you have to say it, Tony.
Mine is just called Morton's Fork.
Mine is Dr. Mastercard.
Mine is The Corridors of Fear.
See, that's a really good one because the corridors are amazing in this episode.
And they're also full of gas that makes you afraid.
PCM, right?
So that was the whole point of Fear.
You told me Dr. Mastercard, and I was like, that doesn't even make sense. And you're like, yeah, K9 calls the Dr. Master all the time.
No, he says Dr. Master. He calls him Dr. Master in the first episode, specifically. Not just calling him Master.
It's still not a great title.
I'm not claiming that it is. I'm just saying he did say that in the episode. That's all.
You could have just called it episode 2.
See,
yeah.
That's usually my stamp.
That's your go-to.
My go-to. I shouldn't have tried to get fancy.
You strayed from the formula and you paid the price. Alright, so some dudes come up and carry the Doctor away on a stretcher. We cut back to the others who are like looking at the candle like, things are about to go bad for you, Leela. And Leela's like, no, I'm going to be way worse to you guys.
Let's see. She says, before I die, I'll see this rat hole ankle deep in blood.
That is a promised thing.
She's hardcore.
I love her so much. She says shit like that, and I'm like, oh, I love you. I'm so in love.
She's great because she's so assertive, and it is so, it's just a nice dynamic that we've never had before on the show.
Never had quite so violent a companion. Maybe... No, I wouldn't even say Jamie's this violent.
No. Jamie's far more lovable and sweet, and only gets violent if the Doctor's being threatened. You know, that's like the only thing that brings that out in him.
And then we get to the second cartoonish villain.
Oh, fantastic.
This is the Collector.
I have a request from you.
Yes?
I'd like to hear you do his voice.
Okay. That's basically Skeletor. That's not quite what he sounds like.
Gather ahead.
Yes, he's very this.
He sounds like Steve Urkel. I mean, let's just say it, okay? I mean, it's Steve Urkel voice.
It's so creepy, and he stretches things out.
Did I do that?
And he's so sweaty and bald.
Well, and it looks like the makeup might have, like, sort of a green tinge to it or something. The skin tone looks a little off.
In a very uncomfortable way.
Just slightly. He's also got those mad eyebrows going on.
Yeah, they're like stylized. Like it's almost like little braids coming off of the eyebrow. They're pointy. There's like 3 or 4 points coming out the top of each eyebrow.
He looks like a really bad knockoff toy of Professor X.
I didn't notice it until you said it. I'm looking at pictures and he's so sweaty. What? Why is he so sweaty?
To me, he also looks a little bit like Phil Collins.
I don't know who that is.
He's from the band Genesis.
I don't
He did the song In the Air Tonight.
You know what else is with his makeup? I think his lips are colored. Yeah, his lips are like slightly blue. It's a nice subtle makeup to be like this person.
Uncomfortable.
Well, it's like this person isn't
quite human.
Yes, it's a approximation of humanity.
Nathan has left for a little bit to do food things. While he's gone, we're going to do a quick New Who update.
Oh.
Because he doesn't watch New Who. Whoop, whoop, whoop. The Dalek episode.
The Dalek episode. The Dalek episode made Dalek scary.
Yeah.
I was genuinely really, really afraid of the fucking backpack Dalek. And I was really not looking forward to another Dalek episode.
And it was good.
It was really good. And I like the steampunk DIY kind of Dalek. And I really liked
Ryan and his dad?
No. I mean, yeah, but that's not what I was going to say.
I liked Ryan and his dad and the Dalek plots. I don't think they super meshed well together. But I liked both of them.
I liked when the Dalek was welding the Dalek casing. Because I was like, is this a thing? Are we just going to have women welding all the time? Because I personally would appreciate that. It's good aesthetically.
Best Chibnall episode, I think, possibly. Way better finale than the finale.
Yeah, for sure.
Now we don't have any more until next year, 2020.
I find that to be outrageous. Honestly.
How dare they?
Get your shit together. Make us more TV. Make us more TV faster.
We demand it. And that was a New Who update.
I'm back.
Oh, we finished. Man, we blew through the whole rest of it. It's crazy. We didn't say much else after you left. Tony just also noted that his lips are slightly blue, too.
He's very much like a Ferengi in Star Trek, but since you guys haven't seen Star Trek yet, that doesn't really probably mean much to you. Not the way he looks, but the way he acts.
Is that like the dude with the big ear? Odo, is that his name?
No, not Odo. But they do have big ears. Quark is one in Deep Space Nine, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Quark and Odo hang out a lot, though.
Yes.
Or at least they do on Tumblr.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say, is all of this knowledge just through osmosis?
Yes, just random GIF sets I see on Tumblr.
But the Ferengi as a race are very much like this. It's all about making money, and it's all about, making profit off of the expense of it. You don't do the hard work. You make other people do the hard work kind of thing.
Do they talk like this?
No. That is definitely a Doctor Who thing. Or Steve Urkel.
And apparently, he's also doesn't have great eyesight, because he's got this, he's typing away on this big machine, and he's reading a receipt as it's printing out, and he's got his nose pressed right up against it.
I thought that was great. I mean, for an actor, because they talked about him in the interview at the end too, about how he was, an actor who wasn't cast a lot, in things, or maybe this is something I read. But either way, it's because it was hard to cast because he was so small, and so it was finding the right roles for him was difficult. But you can see that he's just trying to develop all these weird mannerisms and quirks and give this guy this great, a lot of personality. And so I love that yeah, he's so myopic and he's just staring really close at everything.
And then Haid comes in to tell him about the Doctor and the Ajax and all that, and they have a cartoon voice showdown. It's great.
Oh, your magnificence! As he's bowing down almost to the floor.
I could just watch a show of just those two. It's great.
Well, yeah, because it's all the different things your magnificence, your greatness, your largeness. It's all usually things to make him sound big, even though he's small. And it's just one of those. It's just so funny.
It gets slightly more as the serial goes on and things are getting less and less in the collector's favor. He sort of starts slipping in some insults, too, it sounds like.
Well, when you talk about, he says your grossness, that could mean that gross sometimes means big, too, rather than just gross like we think of it, ugly. So I'm not sure if he meant gross in the big sense or gross in the ugly sense, but yeah.
And your corpulence?
Corpulence, yeah. That one's definitely not a compliment.
But, I feel like he's still just trying to be I'm running out of words and now I can only say these ones that are borderline insults. But the Doctor is put in the correction center. He's put in a straitjacket and they're going to do things to his brain, basically.
To magnify pain 1,000 times.
Because that's what you need.
Well, because they call it the correction center, but you basically learn it's basically a torture chamber. They either kill you or they torture you into being a servant.
When Haid was talking about that Kandor conspiracy in the last episode, he said that that guy was put into the correction center for 3 years. And, like, Marn's
Just
like, oh
wouldn't
my goodness, that is a record. He's like, yeah, he was pretty tough. Pretty tough. There's another guy in the correction center with him whose name is Bisham, who is also tied up.
Who's just a sweetheart.
I was just curious. I wanted to take these pills because I wanted to know what it did. Probably not the smartest thing. More 60s and 70s, but, you know, it's more of a 60s thing than a 70s thing, but okay.
Because he found these pills that the higher-ups were taking, and he takes them, and he's like, man, I'm starting to feel really good. Because it was basically counteracting the anxiety stuff, which he was actually in charge of, like, making the PCM. And the doctor's like, PCM? That stuff induces anxiety.
Yeah, apparently, like, the company tells people, though, it, like, cleans the air or something like that. But, yeah, it's really there to keep everybody from revolting because they're constantly afraid.
Well, the others are ready to kill Leela because the doctor hasn't shown up. And there is a bit of a fight scene where Leela kicks ass. It's not much of a fight. She's definitely winning, I feel like. But it gets interrupted by Cordo showing up and, like, saying, the doctor was captured. Like, it's not his fault. Leela's like, well, let's go rescue him. She's, like, trying to rally the troops together, and they're all like, no, thank you. And only Cordo, adorable Cordo, is like, I'll join you, Leela. Like, I love Cordo's, like, progression over the course of this serial, because he gets more and more, like, yay, team, as it goes, and it's to the point where, like, it's even, like, annoying to everyone else.
Well, I think it's kind of adorable, because, like, Leela almost seems like she's sweet on him, you know, because he's, like, so, I don't know, maybe it's because he's just, like, an adorable little puppy, but it's always, she's like, oh, Cordo, you know, and she, like, grabs his hand at one point, and she's pulling him along, and I don't know, I ship them.
They hug at one point, too.
Yeah.
The doctor is also, when he's in the correction center having this whole conversation about the PCM and all that, he's been hopping around and fiddling with this thing on the wall, like pulling things out with his teeth, messing with stuff. And then a worker comes in and is like putting in like helmets on him and stuff. And the doctor's like trying to talk to him, but he's not recognizing, like talking to him at all. I was like, the doctor's like, is he deaf? Like, no. He's just, he's above you.
He's ignoring you because you don't matter, basically.
The doctor says right afterwards, is like, oh, good. If he was deaf, I'd feel kind of bad. I feel kind of rude for asking.
And also because he touches the wall unit.
Well, yeah, because he tries to warn the guy. He says, I wouldn't touch that if I were you. And so I think that's what the doctor's saying. He'd feel bad if the guy was deaf and he wouldn't hear the warning. But the guy, of course, doesn't listen. And he pulls the thing and it electrocutes him or whatever.
Then Marn comes in to take the doctor to Haid. And they're going to have a chat. And the doctor gets his straitjacket taken off and is taken away. But he leaves Bisham his jelly babies. His bag of jelly babies.
Yeah, but I thought this was so mean because he's in a straitjacket. So how is he going to eat those jelly babies?
You know, that's a good question.
You don't put a bag of candy next to a guy in a straitjacket? That's just cruel.
He could probably roll over, stuff his face in it, and pull one out.
There's a way to MacGyver it, get into some candy. Joe's gonna figure it out.
It's like they come in later to try to rescue the doctor. They just find him dead, like asphyxiated, trying to like eat candy out of the bag.
It's also so Leela has bumped into K9 also at this point while they're like going around trying to find the doctor, and also she's like, "Whoa, I feel an unfamiliar feeling. What's going on?"
I feel afraid?
That doesn't sound like me at all. And then K9 has to be like, no, there's stuff in the air.
I like that, yeah, she pretty instantly is like, oh, it's something in the air that's making me feel this way. So there's not anything actually to be afraid of. Okay, cool. I'm over it then.
In the Haid's office, Haid gives the doctor the money that he was trying to get out of the ATM to begin with and says, it was probably just a computer error. To err is computer.
To forgive is fine.
Then the doctor eats some leaves and leaves.
Raspberry leaves?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't either.
No.
But they have a bit of a chat, and then he's like, you're free to go. Go do some touristy stuff. After the doctor leaves, Haid is like, I'm going to keep an eye on him. That's my plan. I'm going to see where he goes. He almost immediately, loses track of him, though.
Well, and yeah, because that's the thing. They didn't intend to capture the Doctor when they did, because he had always wanted them to follow the Doctor and see where he went. But because that stolen credit card, was flagged by the ATM, they caught the Doctor, and so it was that's why I was like, oh God, we got to let him go. Let him know that nothing's wrong, and so hopefully he'll continue to meet with whoever his associates are. Which, of course, nothing that he says, makes the Doctor think that everything's okay, and he's totally on to the guy.
Because Haid's not the smartest person ever. Leela, meanwhile, they've made their way to the correction center after K9 shoots a guard outside of this really weird-looking wall of fake boobs.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess.
I know what you're talking about, but that's not what... My brain never went there. I had forgotten how bad K9's laser effect looked in these earlier ones, because it gets better. It gets better even in the classic series, but it's so slow, too, that kind of thing. It's, yeah.
Frequently, they have to have characters, bend down to get hit.
My favorite thing about K9 is how loud he is when he moves.
That gets improved, too. They continue to improve the prop over time, and yeah, they get better motors or something that aren't as loud.
He clacks around a lot. But they get to the correction center, and they save Bisham. Cordo finds the bag of jelly babies and just goes, jelly babies!
The Doctor was here!
His absolute excitement at it I don't know, he's just adorable.
But yeah, Haid has almost immediately lost track of the Doctor, but comes up with a plan to smoke him out, basically. And he calls it Morton's Fork, which was where my title for this episode came from. I don't remember the exact plan, but I'm sure it was a good one.
I think it was basically just that he had people coming from both directions, so it was like they were caught in a fork, between two prongs. A pincer movement, I don't know.
Then the guard that K9 stunned wakes up and sounds an alarm. The Doctor returns to the others with the money, and they're like, this is really suspicious, and we think you're a spy.
Because no one's ever forgiven, and no one's ever set free, so that's really weird.
And the Doctor's like, yeah, I know. The Leela, Cordo, Bisham, and K9 run into a barricade, and they're like, we'll have to go a different way. And then they turn around, and at the end of this very long hallway...
It's so long!
I know, and it's really in some office building somewhere, but I wonder what office building requires a hallway that ridiculously long.
And then a vehicle, turns the corner and drives towards them very slowly.
It's 5 miles an hour.
And they just stand there, and Leela's like, let's bolt. And he's like, nope, it's too late. They saw us.
It's like the scene in Austin Powers where the guy's just screaming as the
steamroller?
Yeah, the steamroller's coming. And it just takes forever. It's like that.
And then it's slow-moving car. Them just standing there. Close-ups. Credits. So bad. I loved it. And that's the end of episode 2. We are now into episode 3, which I again have 2 titles for. One of them was terrible, so I had to think of a better one. I literally had the hardest time thinking of a title for this one. So this is The Sun Makers. Uh-huh. And this episode, this serial stars a specific Doctor who I find kind of interesting to watch. I gave the title The Fun Baker.
What the fuck?
Punny.
It's not good. So I came up with a better title, possibly, that I called Gathering Interest.
Okay. I went in a similar direction with The Gatherer, but I said Hunter-Gatherer.
Oh, nice.
Because he's hunting the Doctor, so.
I like that.
I've called it Episode 3.
No.
And a true return to form.
Tony's back. So, K9 goes around a corner to hide. They come up. They don't run him over. They just stop and get out. And then K9 shoots around the corner, but also, his laser...
K9 bends his laser.
He bends his laser upwards. It doesn't look very great. Then they take out the guards and they're like, well, let's take this vehicle. And Leela gets in it and goes, forward!
And the sad thing is that... Oh, okay, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. But I'm like, the sad thing is, if the guards had just run after them, they'd be able to overtake them on this thing.
True. It's not a very fast-moving car.
Or at least inside the building, they're too afraid to go fast. I mean, I don't know if the car itself doesn't go fast, or if they're just too afraid to go at any kind of speed to wreck this building that gave them permission to film there.
But Leela tries to drive forward, stomps on the gas, and it goes backwards. And she's like, "Great Zoanne, and I said forward!" And then Bisham's like, "Maybe I should drive." She's like, fine, I get the gun, though.
I wanted the gun anyway. Give it.
The barricade has been taken down because the guards at the barricade heard the gunshots and just were like, "Oh, I assume everything went fine for us. Not going to check and see."
Taking it down.
They take down the barricade, so they drive through the barricade very slowly. It's a really bad shootout happening here. I don't know. It's very slow and poorly paced. But Leela does get shot in the head, which was a bit of a "oh no" moment. She falls out of the back.
That welt on her head looks real.
Yeah, it looks painful.
Also, fuck you, Cordo and Bisham. They just leave her.
Yeah, we gotta leave her. Let's drive away very slowly.
They
could have carried her and left at the exact same pace.
Right, like one of them could have kept driving and the other one could have jumped out, grabbed Leela, picked her up, ran back after the car, caught up to it, put her in it, and gotten in.
So the doctor is being questioned by Mandrel of the others. The doctor is just being the doctor at him. Mandrel's like, "You know what I think?" And the doctor's like, "That's a trick question. With a brain your size, you don't think, right?" Which gets the response that the doctor's shenanigans generally gets, which is they're like, "All right, we're going to torture you now." And Mandrel pulls out this like hot iron that they're going to brand him with.
Ugh, I hate that. That's one of the things that like particularly frightens me.
But the doctor's like calling his bluff, though. He's like, "I don't think you're actually going to do it."
Yeah, they act tough, but they're not really like cutthroat killers.
Not yet.
Oh, but that's a mob, though, and that's a whole different thing. People are a lot more confident in mobs.
That's fair. Cordo and Bisham show up. The doctor's fine. Don't hurt him. So, they don't. There's a lot of, like, things are about to get bad, and then people show up and go, wait, hold on. Things are fine. Leela is taken to the correction center. She has no number on her arm, which freaks everybody out.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing we haven't really mentioned is that they refer to the people below, like, the top tier as worker units. So it's like everybody's, like, just like an itemized commodity. You know, this is serial, whatever, number whatever for this work unit. Kind of disturbing.
Yeah, they don't think of these people as people. So the doctor and the others come up with a plan. Mandrel used to work in the main control. He thinks he knows how to stop the PCM from going through the air conditioning units, basically, so they can turn that off.
Yeah, it is a little convenient that we have all the people with the skill sets that we need all in the group right there.
Yeah, we've got Mandrel and Bisham, and we only got 4 episodes. We got
Right.
Oh, Leela is taken to the collector. Not very willingly. She's like just threatening and cursing the entire way. It's great. I love her so much. But she does kind of tell the collector all the important bits about the doctor. It doesn't take a lot to get it out of her either.
Well, but see, she doesn't even think that she needs to, like, hold that back, because to her, it's like, this is, you guys think that I'm, this person that lives here, like, I'm not from here, and I came with the doctor, and he's a Time Lord, and, we're not part of any of this, but yeah, that gives the collector something to look into.
Oh, and back at the others base, the doctor's like, "Quick question, what is the company for?"
Profit. That's all they can say. They have no idea what it actually does. It's like, it makes profit.
Right. Who gets the profit?
And they just stare at each other like, I never thought to ask that one.
We're all a bunch of dummies.
There's another thing the doctor says, I think it was before this, because before that in my notes, but he says, like, what do we have to lose? Only your claims, instead of only your chains. Yeah. So I love that.
It's a reference to, was it the Communists?
Yeah, the Communist Manifesto, yep.
So Robert Holmes getting all the stuff in here.
He was real mad that day.
Right. I'm going to piss off every political, party there is.
From what I've heard, they had to tone it back some from the original script, too. Because they're like, this is too political, man. Come on.
But you can tell, though, that, all the efforts to, make the show less violent have, come through. Because, very few people actually die in this one. A lot of the horror type elements have been done away with, so they've toned that stuff back. But Robert Holmes is like, okay, now we're going to turn this into a political satire. They're like, no, that's going to piss off other people.
I will say there is a lot of references to violence, though. Some of, Leela's threats are Jesus!
There's a lot of talk about violence, but very little actual violence.
Oh, I really like this next scene. The Collector has figured out, that the Doctor is not an Ajax. He's telling Haight about this. He's like, he's just a traveler here by accident, but I want him captured, so we're going to put out a reward for him. I don't even remember what the unit of currency is. Delmars or something.
Talmars, yeah.
And he's like, it's going to be 1,000 of those. And it's going to come out of your account, Haight. And Haight goes, no!
And the Collector's like, you spoke? And Haid's like, oh, I'm just expressing joy at the greatness of your decision, sir, or something like that.
Just like, no, not my money. I mean, no. What fun. And then he's also like, we're going to have Leela executed. Everyone will get holiday without pay.
Yeah, it's a 2-hour holiday.
So they can go see the execution, but they have to pay to see the execution.
Well, you can watch it on your TV screen for free, but if you want to actually be there in person, you've got to pay.
Yeah, that seemed a little weird to me. I feel like that'd be a pay-per-view event. But also, I realize it's that way for plot convenience.
But the other part of it, though, is I think that they want everyone to watch it, which is why they give the holiday, because that's one of the ways of instilling fear in the public, is see if somebody breaks the rules, this is what we do to them. So only the real sickos who enjoy it would, go there in person, but, everybody else is forced to watch it because it's just on all the screens everywhere.
So the Doctor he does what I call the Hudson Hawk. He makes a video recording of himself walking in a loop down this hallway, and then plays that loop over and over again, so it looks like he's just walking back and forth down this hallway. Which, that plot is also used in one of my favorite films, Hudson Hawk. I know it is not a well-enjoyed movie, but fight me. It's good.
It was probably done in Doctor Who first.
Yes.
You said, but fight me, in the most timid, polite voice. Excuse me, but please fight me.
My big problem with everyone who hates on Hudson Hawk is they're like, oh, it's so unintentionally funny. And I'm like, no, it's a comedy. It's intentionally funny. You can't be mad at a movie for not being Die Hard. Anyway, moving on. Oh, so they've put Leela in a room awaiting her execution. And she's chained, she is tied up to a wall. She's leaning forward, and she's got a tiny little platform to stand on. It looks very painful.
I think the idea is because she was, obviously fighting them the whole... Whereas the Doctor didn't actually, put up any kind of resistance. He just kind of hopped around the room. So they left him, alone. But, Leela was trying to fight the whole time. So they put her on this thing that makes it very hard for her to, get any kind of leverage or be able to do anything to, cause damage or break out of her, straitjacket.
I believe on the documentary, she said they left her there for a little while as a prank. That's mean.
Oh, that's okay. There's stories of the people in the Dalek suits that got left in as everybody went and took their lunch break, and they couldn't get it off without somebody outside helping them.
Oh, no!
Oh, I am too claustrophobic for that.
They'd forget about them sometimes.
I hate being, trapped in some place. It makes me very uncomfortable. But a guard comes in to talk to her and basically says, you're going to be steamed. And she's like, what does that mean? He's like, you don't know? As he walks out the door, which is terrifying and rude. Answer her question.
The good news, your clothes won't have any wrinkles on them.
The bad news is you'll be dead. So Haight and Marn see the Doctor on the security cam in the loop and go after him. Then what happens? An announcement is made about the Doctor and the reward, and there's a guy watching it in the main control room. I hope I find him and get some money. And then
the Doctor's right next to him.
He's like, oh, that reward's nothing. I've had way bigger bounties on my head.
Yeah, he's very offended.
It's such a great gag, because it's the guy just looks over and the Doctor's right there. And then he's upset by how little it is.
The others pull guns on him and we're taking over this joint. They quickly are like, yeah, alright, and we're gonna join your revolution. That'll be fun, won't it? The other guy's like, yeah.
The revolution isn't adorably enthusiastic.
Well, but it also kind of makes sense. Like, so if everybody's, like, pumped full of this stuff that causes anxiety and fear, it's like if somebody points a gun at you and says, now you're on our side, it's kind of like, sure. I'm afraid right now, so I'll just join you now.
And then an announcement is made about Leela's execution. The doctor is informed about what the steaming is, and they're going to try to stop that, which will require going inside the vents and turning off the water supply, which K9 will have to do because it's like too hot, I believe, or something like that.
Yeah, it's going to be too hot for anyone to go in there.
So K9 does so, turns off the water supply, comes back out, and now the doctor's going to go in and rescue Leela, who is being put into the chamber.
Yeah, and this whole time the Collector is being super duper creepy because he's talking about, like, he can't wait to enjoy, like, the, you know, it's going to be, like, in high definition audio so he can hear the screams and how it's so personal and he loves hearing the nuance and of the screams and the different, like, emotions of terror and acceptance and everything. And it's just like, oh my God. You know, this guy is messed up.
Oh, yeah, he's just, like, enjoying it way too much. Oh, he's so slimy. That's basically the cliffhanger is Leela is put into the chamber and it starts steaming up. And that is the end of episode 3. And we are now into episode 4, which I've called Full Steam Ahead.
That's probably better than mine. This was the one I struggled with the most to have a title for, so I ended up with Read My Lips, No New Taxes.
So the doctor goes in, Mandrill gives him this communicator thing, like, we only have so much time that we can keep the pressure down, because they're, like, manually controlling it, so you only have, like, so long, and if you're in there too long, well, he says, like, the doctor's like, don't call me. I'll call you if I need anything. But the doctor goes in there and he's taking too long. So Mandrill does call in and is like, hey, you're about to get steamed. Get out of there. But because of that, and because the chamber is wired for sound for the controller's weird benefit, they overhear it. And they're like, oh no, something's going on. Something fishy is happening here. Cordo, I love you so much. The doctor and Leela get out, and Cordo is so excited, and he's like, yay, the revolution, you guys, right? And the doctor's like, hold on, don't cheer yet. We still got a lot of work to do.
I don't remember who says it. It might have been Cordo, it might have been someone else, but I love this because it's so Doctor Who. They have to say, now we have enough weapons to hold the corridor. And I'm like, it's so dark because it's all about, you know, walking down corridors in Doctor Who, right? So it's just like, we can hold the corridor. That's so important.
Soon we'll have enough weapons to hold the... Oh no, I just blanked on the word I'm thinking of. What's the quarry? That's what I was going to say.
If we take the quarry, we control the world.
So the doctor wants to use the public video system that they've been showing the execution on and everything to get out some good propaganda. So they're going to go leave to do that. The doctor and Leela do. The workers have sort of stopped working and are confused about what's going on, and because there's, you know, talks of revolution and everything. And Haight is telling this to the Collector, and the Collector gets so mad he drives around in circles. Because we haven't really said that. He's in, like, this motorized chair.
And the reveal on what the chair actually is the best part, but we'll get to that.
But, like, he just having this conversation with Haight while just doing wheelies. It's great.
I'll say this much. It's a motorized throne.
Oh, no.
He sits on a throne of lies. Cordo, my just note says, Cordo is super happy. Probably due to less PCM. But it's adorable. Just like, guys, this revolution's great, isn't it? So the workers are going on strike. They take out a guard and are very happy. Leela takes out a guard and is about to murder him. And the doctor's like, don't kill him. And she's like, well, why not?
I haven't gotten to kill anybody in the longest time.
I could have killed this guy if Philip Hinchcliffe was here.
And the doctor's like, we're just going to put him to sleep. And then he hypnotizes the guard and says, you'll be asleep until I say wake up. And then we pan back and see that Leela is also asleep. And he has to, like, cover the guard's ears and goes, wake up! And she's like, what's going on? I love those comedy moments. The Collector blames Haight for the revolt, says he was too lax and not strict enough. And then Marn also comes in and says that the workers are going to the roof to see the sun. Haight is not happy about this, so he leaves to go take care of that.
Yeah, because only the executives are allowed on the roof.
Or jumpers, apparently.
Wow. Yeah, well, I mean, he didn't care about getting caught because he was going to kill himself.
So the doctor... Well, Leela finds a safe, and the doctor's like, ooh, I'm going to try to crack that. And they're whispering, and he's like trying to listen in, and she's like, why are we whispering? And he's like, I don't know. That's just what you do.
That's just what you do when you crack a safe.
Well, yeah, I just love that he just walks up to it and just starts, like, twirling it around, and she's like, you know, and he's like, oh, this always looks easier when I see other people doing it or something like that. So then he gets out the sonic screwdriver.
Yeah, he gives up. Also, the noise of the safe that it makes is... I'm pretty sure the exact same noise that the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy makes in the radio series and the TV show.
Oh, it was made by the same person, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The BBC, you know, uses I'm sure they had a sound library that they pulled from, whether it was radio or TV.
I was very like, oh, hey, I recognize that noise. So he sonics it, it opens. They both try to go into the safe at the same time, but, you know, they're too big to both fit. So the doctor, like, goes back into the room, and Leela's like, ha! And turns around and runs into it, and there's a force field there, and she passes out. And the doctor's like, you gotta press this button first. And he's like, why do the girls never listen? Why do they never listen to me? Which makes me think of, Tim says that in Girl in the Fireplace too, right? I don't think he specifically says girls, but... So then the doctor makes an announcement saying that the citizens are taking over and that all the officials are to be arrested. The revolution sort of catches up to Marn, and Marn's like, oh, there's a lot of you. You know what? I'm joining the revolution. And this is when Cordo runs into the room after having heard the announcement and starts shooting the ceiling in celebration like, it's over!
We did it!
Woo!
Oh, God damn it, Cordo. Calm down. We made that announcement. It was part of our plan.
I know, and it's part of the, like, it's like some sort of control room that they're in, too, and they're all, like, wincing as he's firing, because it's like they don't know what he's gonna break.
Cordo, you're adorable. On the roof, Hayden makes it to the roof and is like, hey, everybody, get off the roof.
Is that how he says it?
Yeah.
He says, excuse me, but could you please get off the roof?
Excuse me, please get off the roof.
Well, it's so funny because, like, you know, in this society, it's been this way for generations. So he just can't even conceive of people breaking the rules this openly. And he has, like, absolutely no fear for himself because he's just kind of like, I'm the gatherer. You know, they can't do anything to me. So he's just going up there telling people to, like, get away because, like, you know, this isn't for them and doesn't realize what's about to happen.
They all gather around the gatherer, pick him up, they gather him up.
They chuck that motherfucker off the roof.
Jazzy Jeff style.
When crowd surfing goes bad.
He goes, ah! And they all are like, ha ha ha!
They all cheer and
murdered
laugh.
Yeah, unfortunately, like, people comment on that and talk about, like, how, like, disturbing that is, but the thing is, for, like, a mob that's, like, doing a revolution, that's probably the way it actually happens.
In the novel, I read in the novelization, Terrance Dix had us, like, wrote that scene, and then they were like, after they threw him off, they were like, maybe we've went too far. You know what, Terrance Dix? You're a coward. That's what I say.
You've been so excited about calling Terrance Dix a coward.
Yeah, you're a coward, Terrance Dix. Let him chuck him off and be happy about it. Because to me, that just fits in with the tone of this whole serial.
Well, it was kind of funny because in the documentary on the DVD, they had like some film critic or something that was talking about the story. And he was like, oh, this would be so horrifying to modern audiences. Like, we wouldn't be able to stand that. And I'm just like, really? I didn't think it was that bad. But whatever.
They killed their oppressor. That's
what happened.
It's perfectly fine. The doctor leaves the safe, and the collector has returned to his desk. And the collector's like, I'm basically going to call the guards on you, and like presses this button, and it just pops off because the doctor's already futzed with it.
Yeah, they showed that before he broke into the safe that he was messing around with it.
Yeah, and it makes a delightfully cartoony sproing noise, and the doctor catches it in his hand. So this is the scene where, you know, the bad guy does the whole like, this is my evil plan, and it's so weird. The doctor like crouches down next to him as they're talking, And, like, the Collector is just straight up fondling the Doctor's hair. He's, like, running his fingers through it while he's talking. I was like, that's an interesting choice.
Yeah, again, I think that the actor is just trying to make the Collector as weird as possible, and it's just like, oh, well, he's bald, so maybe he's fascinated by the big curly hair. You know, like, ooh.
My favorite thing about that is Tom Baker does not react to it at all. He's just like, all right, cool.
But what I think is so funny is that the Collector is just so ready to brag about the company. He's like, here's our prospectus, you know, like, and like when the Doctor's talking to him about like what's going on, he's like, oh, you're interested. Oh, we can offer you a wonderful position and all this kind of stuff. And it's just so funny that he's like trying to like hire the Doctor.
He's like straight up bragging. But we find out that he's basically a poison fungus alien that made a deal with humans to move labor to Mars. Then they used up all the resources on Mars and moved to Pluto. And they're about to use up all the resources on Pluto. Once that happens, he's just gonna get out of there and leave everyone to die.
Robert Holmes is obsessed with futures where the Earth is, like, dead and humans have moved off of it, because he also wrote The Ark in Space.
Well, he's consistent, so... And then the Doctor's like, this is a ridiculous plan. Wake up, he says, very loudly, causing the guard that he put to sleep to wake up.
Oh, and the guard is played by Stuart Fell.
I was about to say, wasn't he a stuntman?
Yeah, he's a stunt man who's worked on Doctor Who since the Pertwee days. He was Joe Grant's stunt double. He did like a lot of the companions and sort of minor. He was a unit soldier a lot. He died a lot.
The guard puts a gun on the Doctor. The Doctor's like, what did I say? And the Collector is going to flip this switch and poison everyone with the sprinkler system. But Leela has also woken up from being knocked out in the safe. And she finally gets to kill the guard.
Well, I'm not sure she killed him because it looks like she stabbed him like in like the front of the shoulder. I'm not sure he died.
That's true. But she definitely gets to stab him. So that's fun. She throws a knife, stabs him, then she shuts the door to the switch box on the Collector's hand, and he's like, ah! And then he gets so stressed out, he starts to shrink into his chair.
Well, he's getting all the reports, too, from the computer that they're losing profits and money, and it's just, like, freaking him out at how much money they're losing. And that's when he starts, like, yeah, shrinking and dissolving.
This branch isn't viable! And then he, like, curls up into a ball, turns into a green goop, and then gets swiveled down into his toilet seat.
He's been sitting in a toilet seat the whole time. Which I think is Robert Holmes making another, analogy to either the government or the heads of the BBC, whichever one you want to take your pick.
They're all going down the shitter. And the Doctor hands Cordo a little plug, and Cordo puts it into the little hole in the toilet seat and plugs him into his chair. And that's where he resides to this day. And then they say something about, like, why did he take the form of a human? It's like, well, you wouldn't take orders from a seaweed. And they're like, fair.
They said they look like kelp with eyes.
So then they basically are like, well, good luck. You should go back to Earth. Probably all the resources are back by now. Bye. Everyone's like, yay. And they get into the TARDIS and leave. And that's when the Doctor explains that he fed some numbers into the computer, or he screwed up the economy thing, which freaked out the Collector. So that was all his clever bit of business. It's like, isn't that clever? Kanan's like, yes, you're great. Get over yourself. And then the Doctor purposefully flicks a switch on the TARDIS, tilts the TARDIS, and the chess game falls over. And the Doctor's like, oh, dear me. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, now he reminds me of my brother. I'm losing, I'll swipe the board clear. Ha ha.
That is not cool. Be a good sport. Come on. But that's it. That's the end of The Sunmakers with the Fun Bakers.
Ouch.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back for final thoughts.
Final thoughts! Do you enjoy TV shows, movies, video games, comics, or novels? Do you enjoy listening to people discuss geeky topics without getting bent out of shape when they disagree? If you do, then the 42 Cast is right for you. We're a podcast with a rotating cast of guests that discusses a new topic every week. You can find us on Stitcher Radio, iTunes, Google Play, or 42cast.com. You can also support us and the entire ESO network by going to patreon.com/ESO network. That's the 42 Cast, your ultimate answer to fandom, geekiness, and everything.
And we're back!
We're back.
Tony, do you know what time it is?
It is... You asked.
Yeah, I'm waiting. Go for it.
It's 8:53.
What do we do at this point in the podcast?
It's over. We're done. We go home.
We are home. We don't have to go anywhere. Do you think we record this in a fancy studio?
Are we... Is that not where we are right now?
And so now I need like a Ferris Bueller shot of like Tony like coming out in like a bathrobe being like, it's over. Go home.
Why are you still here? You're still here because we need to do final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
This serial is really the official start to the Graham Williams era because it felt like they had some holdovers in the last few serials where, they were still like having some of those horror elements and whatnot, but this sort of less violent, more humor thing, is pretty much how the show's going to be for a while. And it's a lot of fun. And Robert Holmes is showing his versatility because he goes straight out of that gothic horror stuff and straight into political satire that is hilarious and is full of all kinds of great characters. He does not miss a beat. It is a serial I will always laugh at because of just how funny it is. And there's some great performances with the Gatherer and the Collector and Cordo and all of these guys in this show that are really great. So, and I really love how Leela is depicted in this, and K9, and the Doctor gets a lot of great lines. So again, it's just one that I just really like, and it's just kind of sad that this is Robert Holmes' last serial as script editor. He'll still write a couple more going forward, but it's kind of the end of that era as well. So yeah, it's just a really fun one, and so I wanted to be on it to talk about it.
I don't really have much to add because, yeah, seconded all of that. This is a really, really fun serial because it's saying a lot, it's doing a lot, and at the same time, it's just sort of covered in these very odd, very silly ideas and characters. That's the recipe for a good serial. This is a really fun one.
I actually had a really hard time getting through this one. You might say it was taxing.
You're taxing.
No, I'm just joking. I loved it. It was great. Yeah, I love all of the weird characters. The humor is so good in this. And also, like, the satire is really good. I mean, we've definitely had some political stuff in the show before. I don't know if we've had such a, like, political satire necessarily,
So
though.
it's just an angry one.
I know, that's what makes it so good, is you can tell that Robert Holmes is just pissed, and he's like, I'm gonna make fun of these people and make them look so small and petty and stupid, and it's gonna be on Doctor Who, so everybody's going to watch it, because the show's at the height of its popularity right now, and he's just enjoying taking all these people to task.
And I enjoy watching it. It's so good. Yeah, it's well paced too. It's a solid serial.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for us to sort of switch more into I know we're about to get into, like, I guess the comedy section of Doctor Who. And I've been kind of looking forward to that because I'm a fan of comedy. I know it's probably going to get maybe too comedy at times.
A little campy.
Yeah, a little too campy.
Yeah, here's the thing. Graham Williams, unfortunately, from everything that I've read, I mean, he's no longer with us, so I don't know anything about him directly, and he didn't do the DVDs because he had passed on before that. Apparently, he was not a very tough producer. He wasn't very hands-on and didn't control things very well from how it sounds. And basically Tom Baker, after everyone left, because, Philip Hinchcliffe left as producer, Robert Holmes left as script editor, he didn't have Elizabeth Sladen anymore as his companion. Like, he looks around and he's the person who's been on the show the longest. And he starts, like, making, like, demands and wanting everything to be his way. It's one of those things where I think Tom Baker is this brilliant actor, but all brilliant people need, like, somebody to help filter out the good ideas from the bad ideas. people were afraid of him because he was so temperamental, and it starts getting more and more like every time Tom Baker has an idea and it's like, oh, let's do this, let's do that, they like let it go into the show. And so it starts getting a little more silly and a little more self-indulgent as it goes on. And it doesn't help that when Douglas Adams takes over as script editor, he was really young, and so he had a hard time being that filter for writers also. And so that season, it's like the stuff Douglas Adams writes for that season is great, but a lot of the stuff that other people write, like he didn't filter those stories very well, in my opinion. So it gets a little too silly, campy at times.
I'm still kind of excited about it, though. Right. I kind of sometimes enjoy watching train wrecks. It's like that one season of Til Death.
Oh yeah,
where they just like stopped caring about the show and they just did whatever.
Do I have to explain that now?
Yeah, tell that story, because that's an interesting way to find out about it.
This is completely unrelated, but sure. There's this sitcom called Til Death. It's a completely ordinary sitcom. I forget the names of the people who are in it.
Brad Garrett. That's the only.
That's the only name.
Yeah. People care about.
But it's really ordinary for 3 seasons. The only reason why I know this is because it aired at 3 or 4 in the morning when I would work third shift master control. So I would just kind of see it on. In the 4th season, apparently nobody gave a shit anymore, and they were just trying to get it syndicated. I don't know what happened, but everyone was mad. The first time I noticed anything, it was because the bumpers, the music cue to get back into the episode was playing backwards and sped up. And so I'm working master control and I'm oh shit, something just broke. And I'm looking at the clip and watching it and I'm no, it's just like that. So I kind of kept an eye on it for the rest of the night. And there was a character in it who was realizing that he was in a sitcom. And, the actor who played his wife had changed a couple of times, and it was freaking him out. He was you're a completely different person. And they were you're crazy. You need to talk to somebody. There were parts of the things where he would, look out the window and he would see set pieces move. But, it went from being just, an ordinary sitcom to be I don't know, do it fucking ever. We're tired of making this shit. To see that slowly happen over time at 3 a.m. was a bizarre and confusing experience for me. But that's the Til Death thing.
Yeah, and it's not like it was no one's watching, we can do whatever we want, it'll be fun. It was more do whatever you want, I don't care.
I don't care.
It wasn't they suddenly got really well scripted. It was still the same basic sitcom format.
Then there were things. They were literally seeing how far they could just fuck up. With the music cues, they were actively making things shitty just to see if anyone cared, and they didn't.
And that is the story of Til Death. That was a very long aside.
Sorry.
That's good, though. Okay, so before we go, anything you want to plug?
Listen to me on the 42 Cast, which is your ultimate answer to fandom geekiness and everything, where I talk about all kinds of things. And very shortly, I will play the episode that Joe debuted on, which has been sitting around for a year because I have that much of a backlog. And it's one where we're talking about Marvel's Inhumans, which we watched so that you don't have to.
I don't know why I watched the whole thing.
Are you a completionist?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why. And very soon also I will play run some other episodes that Joe was on, and one that Toni was on as well.
Do you remember?
No. Was it The Tick?
It was The Tick.
Okay.
And I believe I was also on Runaways Season 1.
Yes, that was it. Now, have you watched Season 2 yet?
I've seen 3 episodes. That's it.
I think that they address the pacing problems, and Season 2 is way better than Season 1.
Do we have anything to plug? Check out the Unseen World. See Unseen World on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. It should have the same handle everywhere. That is my TV show, I guess. I'm technically co-creator on it. It should be premiering in February.
First episode has Space Ghost in it, so that's cool.
Yeah, so there's that. It's about Howard Finster's Paradise Garden. That's a pretty good story, I think. That's why I was in West Virginia and doing all the Mothman, Flatwoods, cryptid stuff was for this show.
You also did the
so I almost
Superman
died
Museum
for it
too. So
yeah, the Superman Museum,
a lot of nerdy
the history of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and the Manhattan Project. That's the kind of stuff that will be talked about on the show. So please check it out. If you're interested in like the kind of things that I do, you will probably like this show.
It's co-created by you and
Matt Golden.
Thanks, Matt.
If you liked this episode, you can check out more on watchyourassalon.com and be sure to rate and comment on our iTunes. That helps us out with you put in the numbers and the words, and then people find us via magic.
I mean, that is basically it. Yes, the more reviews we have, the easier it is for people to find us, and the more that people find us and listen to us, the more power I get.
The power!
And I appreciate that.
If you'd like to help us out even more, you can go to watchyourassalon.com/support. And there you'll find a link to our Patreon page, which you can get to just by going to patreon.com/watchathon. And there you can donate a monthly amount to get all kinds of rewards, like day early episodes, uncut video of the podcast records, and live streams. And bonus episodes, too. We've been doing bonus episodes. Also on our support page is a link to our Amazon wish list, where you can sponsor an episode of the podcast by purchasing the corresponding serial on DVD for us. We'll mention you in the podcast and put your name on our Friends of Rassilon page. Speaking of, again, special thanks to Matt Golden for sponsoring this episode.
Hey, thanks, Matt.
You can follow him on Tumblr at